Hunter, don't start with that.
All right, continuing our ranking of 2025 death metal albums, here's where we left off, and now we're going to make some room here. We're going to start with Arch Enemy with Blood Dynasty. The 12th album from this Swedish melodic death metal giant, and very much continuing to expand on the heavy metal influences of Deceivers. The riffs are as infectious and thrashy as ever, and Elisa manages to deliver both some of her most extreme harsh vocals and campiest 80s cleans to date, I would say. Even getting some Judas Priest vibes at times. I don't love it start to finish as much as Deceivers, but it's definitely good times. I had a great time listening to it. It's going to amazing. Next up is Allegaeon with the Ossuary Lens. The 7th album from this Colorado technical and progressive death metal band, and the first in 10 years with returning original vocalist Ezra Haynes. And I know I said that Damnum might have been their best to date, and even prior to that, I've said that about other albums, but I think they've topped themselves again. Far from the more Opeth sound of Damnum on this one, this is just full fury tech death. There are still some moody moments, especially Driftwood, but honestly, I'm in it for the ragers like the Swarm, Imperial, and Dark Matter dynamics. Loving the acoustic elements on this one too, and how they're like still presented very fast and technical. I'm putting this one at perfection. All right, then we have Benediction with Ravage of Empires. Now, I was never a big Benediction fan, but it was kind of interesting going through their full discography recently. I think this is a perfectly listenable, old-school death metal album with an emphasis on groove and D-beats, but it feels very quaint in comparison to the current landscape of bands that we're looking at here, especially also bands like Ulcerate and things like that. I'd say it's about on par with that Deicide album from last year, so it is going to good tier. All right, we have Puteraeon with Mountains of Madness. This is album 5 from this Lovecraft-inspired, also Swedish band formed in 2008, this time tackling the story of the same name. Just such fury and actual character to these vocals that I'm really loving. There's just so much personality and drama while also bringing that kind of like wall of HM2 distortion, and so I just think it's like a better version of a lot of the other bands that get propped up right now in this style. So I hope we hear this name more moving forward. I am putting it at killer. I could almost make a case to put it higher, but yeah, I think that's where I'm going to put it for now. All right, we have Lick with Necro. The 4th album from this, also Swedish death metal band, very much following in the footsteps of peers like Dismember, Bloodbath, and Entombed. And if you know them, you already kind of know what to expect. They're just one of those bands that very unapologetically just goes for that classic, like HM2, old school sound, nothing more, nothing less. And fortunately, I think they bring the riffs and intensity for just that. It's not going to get any higher, but I'll put it a great tier. We also have Kardashev with Alunea. Now, unlike those, this is something very different, coming back for round 3 with their very unique blend of their self-described death gaze, which is equal parts anger and sorrow. Mark Garrett, the vocalist, describes this outing as more experimental and progressive this time around, and I would say that's true. I think the results are stunning as usual. Mark truly outdoing himself vocally. There's a reason why you see him doing like vocal coaching content on YouTube too. Funnily enough though, only for harsh vocals, but he is a stellar clean vocalist as well. He's a angel and a demon rolled into one is the way that I put it. I am going to put this one also at amazing. We have Buried Realm with the Dormant Darkness. This is the fourth album from this Colorado progressive and melodic death metal project, combining all of my favorite parts of that genre, and virtually all of it provided by incredibly talented musician Josh Doomer. Just guitar hooks for days on this, big emphasis on atmosphere and production too, constantly engaging songwriting. I'm always down also for a feature from Soilworks' Bjorn Strid, which is good because he's like the DJ Khaled of Melodeath, I swear. He's on everything.
Another one.
Also, Christian Alvestrom, formerly of Scar Symmetry, Heike Sari of Norther and Fintroll, and Francesco Farini of Flesh God Apocalypse. Oh, and also Gus G of Firewind, Dream Evil, and Night Rage. So some amazing guest spots on here, all of which I probably pronounced their names horrifically wrong, but that's okay. If you're a guitar player in particular, I think you're going to love this album. I'm going to put it at perfection. We have Cancer with Inverted World. Really enjoyed digging into this classic UK death metal band's early material in the 90s tier list, especially 1993's The Sins of Mankind. This album was good, but just can't quite compete with the other albums in their discography on many levels, but also especially, again, kind of like what I was saying with Benediction on this list. It just feels very, very quaint, but it's enjoyable enough. So this one is also going to good tier. We have Eschaton with Techtalitarian. Third record from this tech death supergroup made up of current and former members of Obscura, Necrophagus, Inanimate Existence, Apogeian, and Retromorphosis, who we covered in part 1. That album is sitting right here. Always happy to see Max Smith on vocals here, and he's backed by some truly dizzying, mind-boggling guitar work. Sometimes it can be too much, even for me, with just how crazy it can get, but always impressive. And anytime it gets overwhelming, it knows how to switch things up a little bit. So I'm going to put this one at fantastic, too, right alongside Retromorphosis and Obscura, oddly enough. We have Ominous Ruin with Requiem. The second full-length from this tech death band, formed in the Bay Area in 2010, and their first with new vocalist Crystal Rose. Definitely getting vibes of Inanimate Existence, Archspire, and especially Entheos. Super fun modern tech, but with some progressive and atmospheric elements in there for good measure. Again, if you like Entheos, definitely check this band out. They're going to killer. So I have Rivers of Nihil with Rivers of Nihil. The fifth full length from these progressive death metal darlings, and feeling like a compromise, I would say, between the sounds of the last two albums. It's also their first album to not feature longtime lead vocalist Jake Diefenbach, with bassist Adam Biggs taking over on those duties, and he did an excellent job here. Like, his harsh vocals are so imposing, and then the cleans are still just as strong as ever. I think there's some shared duties on the clean vocals. Overall, another really strong outing. Feels a bit tighter and more consistent than the work, but less experimental, and frankly, I find myself enjoying going back to the work more at this point, but it's still early on, so we'll see what future revisits bring. For now, I'm going to put this at amazing. Then we have Bear Mace with Slaves of the Wolf. Third album from this Chicago death metal crew. Pretty meat and potato stuff, but I dig the cavernous vibe and vocals. Some solid riffs on the thrashier side too, with the likes of The Iceman Cometh and some proggier death sounds on Captured and Consumed. I'm going to put this one at great tier. We also have Cytotoxin with Biographyte. Album 5 for this German tech death band that's been reigning in radiation since 2010, and they continue to really not show any signs of slowing down. Just another absolute rager of a record, expertly fusing flashy noodling with highly infectious grooves. Just a total ripper of an album from start to finish. I will say it's a lot of more of the same kind of thing for me at this point, so there's slightly diminishing returns. So for that reason, I didn't quite put it at perfection. I put it at fantastic, but that's like a pretty minor nitpick. We also have Hate with Bellim Regiis. All those mighty days, 2010. Now, album after album, I root for this Polish black and death metal band to find that album that just really floors me, but unfortunately they continue to just mostly leave me feeling like I'd rather be listening to Behemoth in many cases. They're good, but I don't connect with them, and I try every single time they put something out. I'm like, maybe this will be the one. I think it's a solid enough listen. Some people really loved it, but just nothing really gripped me about it, so I just put it at good tier. We have Changeling with Changeling. This is fronted by Tom Geldschläger of many projects, including Obscura and Defeated Sanity, and also backed by members of Fear Factory, Alkaloid, and Virvamus. And then they also described like a 50-piece ensemble of guest musicians that it was a lot. It was a lot to take in. Ultimately, though, I guess that doesn't really matter. Is it good? This was highly requested in the comments. A lot of people in my audience absolutely loved it. And I think it's a very cool album that takes some surprising twists and turns. Of the albums mentioned, I think Alkaloid is the closest comparison. I didn't connect with it as much as some of you seemed to, but I still very much enjoyed it. I am going to put it at killer. I can already hear some of you typing down in the comments, "That should have been a perfection," which is fine. That's where you put it. Cool on you, which, reminder, please do share where you would rank these albums and where do we agree, where do we disagree. Also, if you're enjoying the video so far, please do hit the like button because it helps me out quite a bit. But moving on, we have Shed the Skin with The Carnage Casts Shadows. Album 5 for this Cleveland death metal band that I recall enjoying with their debut in particular, Harrowing Faith in the early days of Metal Trenches. Just pure old school flavor here with the D-beats, speed, and thrash metal influenced riffs, gurgly vocals. And to their credit, I think they still managed to squeeze some juice out of a very old format with some pretty catchy tracks too, like Crook of the Sacred Skies. I'm going to put this one at great tier. We also have Putridity with Morbid Ataraxia. This Italian brutal death metal squad on its 4th album in a decade since the last, and brings its absolute carnage in a similar vein as like Brodekin, Defeated Sanity, and Wormed, absolutely laying waste on this thing in a barrage of blast beats with only a few brief little reprieves and some perfectly timed sound bites. Those made me chuckle quite a bit, especially the Pink Flamingos one. That one in particular is chef's kiss again. I'm going to put this one at amazing, which is pretty high for me for this genre. I'm not the biggest like brutal death metal connoisseur, and I'm frequently the one when like I'm ranking things like Brodekin much lower than a lot of other people would, but I really enjoyed this one. We also have Gruesome with Silent Echoes. This death-worshipping band taking on the Human era with its 3rd full length, and I think they absolutely killed it on this thing. I see a lot of detractors, both in the general metal population, also even in my own audience. And I get it, like, I get why you could listen to this and be like, I'd rather just be listening to death, that's fair. But considering death isn't around anymore and have not been around in a very long time, and there's not a lot of bands doing that exact style, I'm here for it. And I think this is their best one so far. I put it at perfection. Like, I think it kind of tops some of this stuff out. That could be a very hot take, but I really enjoyed it. All right, we also have Fallujah with Xenotaph. Another riff-tastic album from this San Francisco technical and progressive death metal band, following up the last album that I also really enjoyed and placed in my top of that year. I'd say the response to the expanded clean vocal elements is kind of mixed, and even for me, as somebody who generally enjoys clean vocals in his death metal, I thought that it was kind of okay. I think there's some work to do there in that the melodies, I didn't find those parts to be as enjoyable. I kind of found myself missing the cleans from Tori. It's her more wispy kind of approach just sort of fits this band's style so well, so it's something I come to them for, but there's just no denying the guitar work and overall atmosphere. Still a fantastic album, and so it is going to fantastic for me. You have Drawn and Quartered with Lord of Two Horns. The 9th album from this Seattle band since forming all the way back in 1994, and it's decent enough, but squanders a lot of its potential in my opinion. Like, great cavernous old school atmosphere, and the first 2 tracks are pretty solid, but after that, it kind of falls off a cliff for me in terms of the songwriting. It just gets so repetitious. Like, songs will just, like, ad nauseum go over the same thing over and over and over again to the point that it annoys me. So that dropped it all the way down to good. Then we have Coffin Feeder with Big Trouble. Do you like Aborted? Because if you do, this is Aborted. Like, it's just basically more Aborted, to the extent that I'm not entirely clear why Sven is also fronting this project. That said, it's very good, and I love Aborted, so slightly more old school influence version of that. And then again, all the songs are based on like 80s action nostalgia, which is a fun concept. I'm into all of that stuff with Schwarzenegger movies. Like, I grew up with all that, so that's cool for me. Some really killer guest spots as well, and just pure headbang. I'm going to put it at killer. Speaking of Behemoth, we have Behemoth with The Shit of God.
We are the shit of God.
I gotta say, I was kind of surprised with this album, because I've not been so down with Behemoth's post The Satanist albums. Especially I Loved You at Your Darkest. I thought the last album was solid, if kind of forgettable. I really think they came back on this one. It's not like incredible. I don't think it's one of their best albums, but it's like the closest they've come to The Satanist since The Satanist. Front to back, really solid. I think the choir elements really add to the scope. And as corny as that album title is, like, they made it work. They made it work for me. So I'm putting this one at fantastic. And then we have Cryptopsy with An Insatiable Violence. The 9th full-length album from this long-time-running and highly influential Canadian technical death metal band, following up the already incredible As Gamora Burns in 2023. I believe that also made my list of best death metal albums for that year, and that was a tough act to follow. I don't think this one quite hits the heights of that one, but it is very close, like notches close, and it's just awesome, high octane, brutal madness to the degree that I would say it is one of the best of this year so far. So this one is also going to perfection. All right, and just letting you all see kind of where we're at overall with the entire first half of the year. You can check out part 1 if you missed it right here, or check out this playlist for a whole bunch of death metal rankings. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.